Hi, I'm Brooks Robinson, and I'm the drummer for Wade Bowen's band.
And how long have you been wearing In-Earz?
About 8 years now.
And what do you think In-Earz has brought to your drumming?
It's a whole other experience on stage. When done well, they're amazing, because it's actually like sitting and listening to yourself playing on a CD every night, as opposed to floor wedges that are never mixed right. From a drummer's perspective, never can get the sound quite right for what you want to hear for the show. I do use a click track. Run it every song, every night. Makes life a lot simpler for me, allows me to stretch during the songs a lot more, because I can focus more on what I'm playing, because I've got a perfect tempo
and
bouncing in my head, if you will.
And what would you say to a drummer that is not used to a click track?
Go at it with the right attitude. A lot of young drummers tell me, well, I don't want to play to a click track, and it's all in your perception of it. I don't feel that I play to the click track, rather I play with it, and you can learn to play around the perfect click. You can push it a little bit, or you can pull it back a little bit and make the music still feel real natural. And a trick that I learned was to think of the metronome or the click track as an auxiliary percussionist working with the band that has perfect tempo, rather than being a slave to a machine, which is the way a lot of young drummers look at it.
And do you use a butt kicker?
I do use a butt kicker. They're amazing. I think one thing that I hear the most from drummers who switch to In-Earz for the first time is that they feel like, we call it the fishbowl effect. Like it kind of shuts the world out, your environment's too sterile. And what it is, the air movement that you get off a big sub box when you're using floor wedges and stage monitors, you miss that when you go to the In-Earz, regardless of how good the bass response in them is. The butt kicker is silent, so it doesn't add to any stage volume, but it gives you that sensation of the air movement of the sub, so it kind of it brings the liveness of the performance back into it once you switch to the ears.
Okay, now I want to talk about the communication between you and the engineer. How important is it for you as a drummer to know somewhat of how to speak to the engineer?
It's extremely important, because I've learned the hard way that musicians and engineers don't speak the same language, and we don't listen to music the same way. A lot of times, they may listen to your mix and they want to make it sound like how they want it to sound, and you've got to really learn how to communicate to them that you need to hear it the way you like to hear music. Like a lot of people in just their car stereos, some people like the bass turned up more than others, and you just have to learn how to communicate that to your engineer and let them know exactly what it is that you need to help you give the best performance that you can.
As a drummer, as much as you sweat, has there been any tricks that you've had to do on wearing your custom ears?
Comply wraps, comply wraps, comply wraps. As much as I sweat and the long hair over the ears, burn up 2 drivers, filling up full of sweat during a show, until started using the comply wraps, and that completely changed it. It stopped the sweat from getting in my ear and then up into the earpieces. It was a much better alternative than the Olivia Newton-John headband. What other tricks? Clear fingernail polish around where the cables hook up to it to keep them from corroding. That take care of them. I know a lot of guys at the end of the night, you wrap them up, you throw them back in the case, take them out the next day, they stick them right back in their head and go for it at sound check and the show. And I always make a point every day to use the wax loop on it, make sure that the canals are clear. And then I change my comply wraps once a week and use an alcohol wipe, clean them up real good. And it's like basically like anything else. If you take good enough care of it, they'll last you probably longer than they should.
And what is it that you have in your mix?
I have everything in my mix. I'm trying to think if there's anything that I don't. I really have a little bit of everything. The strongest thing in the mix is Wade's vocal. Right underneath that is the click track, because I want to make sure that that's cutting through everything. And then it's me. And then everybody else in the band kind of fills in around that. I work pretty tightly with our lead guitar player and our bass player, so they're pretty predominant in the mix. And then I've got the butt kicker set up, cranked up where it hits hard enough that it shakes my eyeballs when I play. So I like the bottom end heavy, so it works out well for me. And we run ambient mics on stage so that we can still hear the crowd reaction, and it opens the room up a lot more. It lets us hear a little bit of the front of house instead of being just isolated on stage. It kind of takes the studio environment out of the equation.
I wish that smoke cigarette